Have you ever noticed how certain words seem to hang in the air long after they've been spoken? It's rather fascinating, isn't it? The way sound's mere vibrations passing through the atmosphere can penetrate into the very depths of another person's consciousness and remain there, echoing throughout their day like ripples in a still pond. I want to talk with you today about something quite extraordinary: the power of just 3 simple words to create an imprint in someone's mind that lasts not merely for a moment, but persists through their entire day. These words become like seeds planted in fertile soil, growing roots in the consciousness of the listener. But before I tell you what these 3 words are, I'd like us to consider what's really happening when we communicate with one another. You see, we imagine that we're separate beings, isolated islands of consciousness, and that our words are little boats that must travel across vast oceans to reach each other. But is this actually the case? What if we're not separate at all? What if consciousness itself is not divided, but is in fact a singular phenomenon experiencing itself through the apparent multiplicity of forms? Then our communication isn't about bridging a gap between separate entities, but rather about recognizing the underlying unity that's always been there. You see, when we truly communicate, when we really connect with another person, something remarkable happens. Time seems to collapse. The artificial boundaries between you and me temporarily dissolve. And in that space, those 3 words can work their peculiar magic. Now, what are these 3 words? They're not what you might expect. They're not "I love you," though those words certainly have their power. They're not "please forgive me," though there's profound strength in those as well. The 3 words I'm speaking of are "I see you." Simple, aren't they? Almost disappointingly so. And yet, when spoken with genuine presence and attention, they have the extraordinary capacity to remain with a person throughout their day. But why? What's happening when you look into someone's eyes and say, "I see you"? Consider for a moment what it is we all truly want. Beyond the surface desires for success, comfort, pleasure, and all the rest, what do we really long for? Isn't it to be recognized, to be acknowledged not merely as a functional object in someone else's world, but as a complete universe of experience unto ourselves? When you say to someone, "I see you," and you really mean it when you're fully present with them, in that moment you're acknowledging the totality of their being. You're saying, "I recognize that there is a consciousness here, looking out through these eyes, just as complex and vivid as my own." This is astonishingly rare in our hurried world. We pass each other like ships in the night, exchanging pleasantries and small talk, but rarely do we pause long enough to truly see one another, to witness, to behold. But when you do, when you look at another person with your full attention and say those words, something shifts in their experience. It's as if a light has suddenly illuminated a room. They've been sitting in darkness. They feel recognized, not as the persona they present to the world, but in their essential nature. This recognition remains with them because it satisfies a hunger so fundamental that we often don't even realize we're starving for it. The hunger to be seen. Now, there's something curious about these words. They don't work as a technique or a manipulation. You can't say, "I see you," while your attention is elsewhere and expect any particular result. It's not the words themselves that carry the power, but the quality of presence behind them. It's rather like trying to point at the moon. If you become fascinated with your finger, you'll miss the celestial body it's indicating. Similarly, if you become fixated on the words themselves, treating them as a formula or incantation, you'll miss what they're pointing toward, the direct recognition of another's being. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you truly see another person, when you look beyond the costume of personality they're wearing and recognize the awareness that's looking back at you, you're also seeing yourself, not your personal self with its particular history and preferences, but the deeper self that underlies all experience. It's as if we're all different windows through which the same light is shining. The light itself is one, but it appears as many because of the unique characteristics of each window. When you recognize this light in another, you're simultaneously recognizing it in yourself. This is why these words can linger in someone's consciousness throughout their day, because in that moment of being truly seen, they've glimpsed something essential about themselves, something beyond the narratives they tell about who they are, something timeless. Now, you might be wondering, if these words are so powerful, why don't we speak them more often? Why do we spend so much time engaged in superficial conversation, never diving beneath the surface? Well, there's a certain vulnerability in really seeing another person, isn't there? Because to see them, you must also allow yourself to be seen, and that can be frightening. We spend so much energy constructing and maintaining our self-image, the idea of who we think we are or should be. To drop that mask, even momentarily, feels risky. There's also the curious fact that most of us don't really know how to be present with one another. Our attention is fragmented, scattered across 1,000 different concerns. We're physically with someone, but mentally we're rehearsing what to say next, or remembering what we need to pick up at the store, or wondering how we're being perceived. But here's the secret. Presence is not something you need to achieve or attain. It's not a special state that requires years of practice, though practice can certainly help. Presence is simply what remains when you stop being absent. It's your natural condition. So when you look at someone and say, "I see you," you're not adding anything to your experience. You're simply removing the distractions that prevent you from noticing what's already there. This extraordinary, mysterious fact of consciousness, meeting consciousness. Let's explore this idea a bit further. What exactly is happening in the mind of the person who hears these words? Why do they continue to think of you throughout their day? It has to do with the nature of memory and meaning. You see, we tend to remember experiences that have emotional significance for us. The more an experience touches us at an emotional level, the more likely we are to recall it later. And few experiences are more emotionally significant than being truly seen. When someone looks at you with clear eyes and says, "I see you," it creates a kind of shock, a pleasant disruption to your ordinary pattern of experience. Suddenly, you're not just going through the motions of your day, you're being acknowledged as the conscious being that you are. This acknowledgement creates a marker in memory, a reference point that stands out from the blur of routine experience. And throughout the day, as the person encounters various situations and interactions, this marker keeps resurfacing. They find themselves thinking of you not because you've employed some clever technique, but because you've offered them something precious, the gift of being recognized. There's another aspect to this that's worth considering. When you say, "I see you" to someone, and again, I must emphasize that it's not about the words themselves, but the quality of presence behind them. You're creating a kind of resonance between your consciousness and theirs. It's similar to what happens when you strike a tuning fork and hold it near another tuning fork of the same frequency. The second fork begins to vibrate in sympathy with the first. There's a kind of entrainment that occurs. In the same way, when you're fully present with another person, your presence invites them into a similar state. And here's the fascinating part. This state of presence, once experienced, tends to recur throughout the day. The person you've connected with will find themselves spontaneously dropping into moments of greater presence in their own experience. And in those moments, they'll think of you because you've become associated with that quality of awareness in their mind. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about control or manipulation. It's not about making someone think of you because you want to increase your importance in their lives or because you're seeking some advantage. That would be to miss the point entirely. Rather, it's about creating a moment of genuine connection, a brief intersection of consciousness with consciousness that naturally leaves an impression because of its authenticity. It's not about you as a personality trying to be remembered. It's about the recognition of something beyond personality altogether. And that's the paradox of it. The less you're concerned with being remembered, the more memorable the interaction becomes. Because what people are really responding to is not your clever words or charismatic personality, but the quality of attention you're bringing to the moment. So these 3 words, "I see you," are really just a gateway, an invitation to a certain quality of relationship that transcends the ordinary transactions of daily life. They create an opening where 2 people can recognize something essential in each other and in themselves. I'm reminded of a story about 2 explorers walking through a dense forest. They've been traveling for days, following their maps and compasses, completely absorbed in the details of their journey, watching for landmarks, counting their steps, checking their supplies. Suddenly, they emerge from the tree line and find themselves standing at the edge of a vast canyon. The sheer immensity of the space before them stops them in their tracks. For a moment, all their planning and calculating falls away. They simply stand there together, beholding the majesty of what's before them. In that moment, they're not explorers anymore. They're not even separate individuals with distinct life histories and personalities. They're simply awareness, experiencing this canyon together. And though they may not speak at all, there's a recognition passing between them that says more clearly than any words could, "I see you seeing this. I see you." Hours later, as they continue their journey, they find themselves thinking of that shared moment and, by extension, of each other. Not because anything particularly dramatic happened between them, but because in that moment of shared presence, they recognize something fundamental in themselves and in each other. This is the kind of resonance I'm talking about. And you don't need a magnificent canyon to create it. You only need the willingness to be fully present with another human being, even for a moment, and to acknowledge the mystery of their existence. So the next time you're with someone, whether it's a loved one you've known for years or a stranger you've just met, try this simple practice. Look at them. Really look, as if you're seeing them for both the first and the last time. Let go of your preconceptions about who they are. Let go of your agenda in the interaction. Just be there, with them, fully. And then, if it feels appropriate, say those 3 simple words, "I see you." You might be surprised at the depth of connection that emerges. You might be surprised at how this brief moment of recognition stays with them and with you throughout the day, surfacing again and again like a melody that can't be forgotten. Because in the end, isn't this what we're all seeking? Not just to be loved or admired or respected, but to be truly seen, to be witnessed in our essential nature, to be recognized not just for what we do or what we have, but for the simple, extraordinary fact of our being. So I invite you to experiment with this, not as a technique for making others think about you, but as a practice of genuine presence and connection. See what happens when you offer the gift of your full attention to another human being. See what happens when you acknowledge the mysterious fact of their consciousness. The results might surprise you. They might even transform your understanding of what it means to be human, to be connected, to be alive in this extraordinary universe of ours. And if you found this exploration valuable, perhaps you'll consider subscribing to this channel. Give it a like if it resonated with you. And I'd be curious to know, when was the last time you felt truly seen by another person? Share that moment in the comments below. Until next time, remember that the deepest connections often come from the simplest recognitions